Hi, everybody. Welcome to this week's Two Idiots and a Guest Make NFL Predictions on Lake County Sentinel Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and now TikTok. We're live tonight on TikTok. It's just me this week. We had a lot of scheduling conflicts, and so this show is live on TikTok tonight. It's our first live full show on TikTok. I'm Tim Shirer, publisher and founder of the Lake County Sentinel. And we usually have a show every week on Thursday at 6 o'clock with guests and my broadcast partner, Chuck Kulchock. But due to scheduling conflicts this week and some high school football this week on Thursdays, we're not going to be able to have the show on Thursday live, but it will stream at 6 o'clock on YouTube, Twitter, or X, and Facebook tomorrow at 6 o'clock. So if you're not catching it here on TikTok, then you can watch it tomorrow on those. You can also, look us up on the internet at Lake County Sentinel, lakecountysentinel.com for a lot of high school sports. But we're here for NFL predictions, right? And we're going to make them. And we're going to start with the first game of the week, which will be on Thursday night, the Amazon Prime game, the Philadelphia Eagles at the New York Giants. I'm going to go with the Eagles. I think that they'll, I think they'll make Jackson Dart make enough mistakes where the Eagles should have no problem winning this game. But then you have the next game will be Denver at the Jets. I don't think this game's even going to be close. I think Denver will blow the Jets out. I can't believe people in New York are acting like it's Justin Fields' fault that they're not winning. His numbers have been great. He hasn't thrown an interception yet this year, but Denver's just the better team. And they shouldn't have any problem beating the Jets on Sunday. Then we move on to the Arizona Cardinals at the Indianapolis Colts. There's another game that I think that the Colts should win this game. I don't think without a problem. The Cardinals, I just don't believe in them yet. I've never been a fan of Kyler Murray. I think the Colts will win this. I think Daniel Jones is having a great year. And I love seeing a guy like Daniel Jones have a great year after he struggled so much in New York. I always enjoy seeing New York people be miserable after, a player leaves and does well. But I think Indianapolis does win this game. So then we move on to the next game, which is the Los Angeles Chargers at the Miami Dolphins. And I'm going to go with the Chargers in this one. They'll get back on track. They're just too good of a team. I don't think that they're going to have any problems with the Dolphins. I don't think that I think there's going to be a coaching change by the end of the year in Miami. But I'm going to go with the Chargers, even though I can't stand Jim Harbaugh, but I've always been a big Justin Herbert fan. So I think, he's having probably I think he's going to have his best season and of his career. Then we have a game that is a couple of teams that are not very good, although the Patriots do look better. They did upset Buffalo on Monday night. I don't think this one actually leaving me close. I think that the Patriots will beat the Saints pretty easy at the Superdome or whatever it's called now. I'm old enough to just say the Superdome. But I would have to think that the Patriots get another win this week. We have then Dallas at Carolina. Carolina's been sneaky. I'm going to pick Dallas, but I would not be stunned if Carolina were to win this game. But I'm going to pick Dallas. And then we have Seattle at Jacksonville. I think Jacksonville's going to win again. And I think Jacksonville's going to go to 5-1. I can't stand Liam Cohen because of how he left Tampa. But I think Jacksonville wins this game. I don't think Seattle's that good. I don't see a lot there. They have Jackson Smith and Jigma. Their running game, I've not been impressed with ever since Marshawn Lynch was gone. It's not consistent to me. So I think Jacksonville wins this game. Moving on, the Rams at the Ravens. Whether Lamar Jackson comes back or not, I believe that the Rams win this game. The Ravens are not good. And I think time has finally run out for the Ravens, and they're going to have to rebuild. I think that, Lamar Jackson's still a good quarterback, but there's not a lot around him, let's be honest. And Derrick Henry's getting older. So I think that the Rams win this game. Then we'll move on to another game that's not two teams that aren't very good, but this game could be a good game, and mainly because of that. I think the Titans at the Raiders in Las Vegas. I think that the Raiders will come out on top in this game. Cam Ward will get a win eventually, but I don't think it'll be this week. So I'm going to pick the Raiders in this game. And I just think that neither team is very good, but I think the Raiders are better than the Titans. I mean, I don't know. The Titans I feel like this is going to be a long rebuild for the Titans. And Cam Ward is one piece, if he's even that piece. We've seen number one picks flame out before, and he could be one of those. But I wouldn't want to give up on the guy this quick. So, but if we move on from that game, we'll move on to the Cincinnati at Green Bay. I don't know what's going to happen with Cincinnati. Will Cincinnati start Joe Flacco? Will Cincinnati start Jake Browning? I would have to think they would start Browning. I can't see a guy getting traded on Tuesday and starting that week, although Baker Mayfield showed up on Wednesday and played for the Rams a few years back. So you never know. And Flacco is a veteran who has been around a long time. But I think that I'm thinking that they start Browning, but I don't think it matters. The Packers are going to win this game. I would be stunned if the Packers didn't win this game. So, but we'll move on from there. We'll go to Kansas City at Detroit, where this is going to be a great game, I think. This Kansas City. It's actually Detroit at Kansas City. I'm sorry. I screwed that up. But I think this is going to be a great game. The Lions have played really well. They're 4-1 now. The Chiefs are 2-3. When's the last time the Chiefs were 2-3? It's been a long time. So I think that we're going to have to go. We're going to go with the Chiefs here because I think they'll win this game. I know they're at home. They play well in Arrowhead. If it's still called that. I know every name has a stadium has a business name now, but I believe I think it's the field, whatever field at Arrowhead. So I'm going to go with the Chiefs. The Lions are going to lose some games. And so I'm going to go with the Chiefs. They've got a couple of tough games coming up. Detroit, they've got Kansas City this week, and then they have Tampa Bay next week, and I believe it's in Tampa this year. So that should be a good game next week. But we have Buffalo at Atlanta. I feel bad for Atlanta because Buffalo's not going to be happy after losing the game this week to the Patriots. So I'm going Buffalo big in this one. And I don't think Atlanta's that good. I think Atlanta's overrated. I would pick up Michael Carter, definitely. I picked him up in a couple fantasy leagues. I would definitely pick him up. Mr. Beast Journeys, I would definitely pick up Michael Carter. I'm in 8 fantasy leagues, too many. Way too many. But I think I have Michael Carter in 2 leagues now. But so back to the picks. Kansas City's going to beat Detroit. I think they will. And Buffalo will beat Atlanta in Atlanta. And then we have the Monday night game. I saved the 2 games that I have the most interest in for last. So we'll get to those in a couple minutes. But then we have Chicago at Washington. I still think Chicago's not that good. So I think that I am going to go with the Commanders. I usually screw their name up for some reason. I call them the Commodores. But the Commanders, I'm going to go with this week against the Bears. I just don't think the Bears are that good. And I've never been a fan of Caleb Williams. I think he's overrated, and I think he's not the greatest teammate. So I'm not a big fan of him. So, I'm going to go with Washington, and they're at home too. They had that classic game last year where Washington won on the Hail Mary, and that was the beginning of Jaden Daniels. That was where he took off after that, and just played great the rest of the season last year. So, but let's get to the 2 final games that we talk about on here on the NFL predictions. And I feel like these should be 2 good games. The rivalry between the Browns and the Steelers goes back to when the Browns came in the NFL in 1950. And when the Steelers were god-awful back then. People forget that. People forget that the Steelers, for their first 35 years in the NFL, were one of the worst franchises in the league. They were terrible. They were just a horrible franchise. And then the 70s came and they won Super Bowls. And the 80s weren't the greatest for them. And then they, got better again in the 90s with O'Connor. But this rivalry's always been good. And growing up in Cleveland, I was a Browns fan and a Buccaneers fan from when they came in the league. And but I always hated Pittsburgh. Always hated them. I thought Chuck Noll smiling on the sidelines pissed me off. smirking. He was a great coach, but as a kid, man, that just really bothered me. He seemed like such a mean person. So, but this is going to be a good game. Yes, the Steelers have been good this year so far, and the AFC North has been complete trash. It has. It's been complete trash this year, okay? Only the Steelers are over 500. It's been a trash division this year. But this game is going to be a good game because it is a rivalry game, going back 75 years. And there have been moments, even since the Browns came back, there have been moments. What about Myles Garrett hitting Mason Rudolph in the head with his helmet? So these two teams don't like each other now. The fans hate each other. The two teams don't like each other. So I think that this is going to be a close game. It could go either way. I really believe it can go either way. But I'm going to go with the Steelers. As much as I hate it, I'm going to go with the Steelers. So I would like to see the Browns win this game. Browns fans drive me absolutely insane. Living in Cleveland my whole life, Browns fans drive me nuts. They act like they know everything, like they're the smartest people in the world. But I would love to see them win this game because I like Steelers fans even less. But I do think that the Browns, they just don't have enough right now, with Dylan Gabriel. I do like Dylan Gabriel. I do. And I've said this to Browns fans. And this has got to be a point. People have to make this point. Why would you root against Dylan Gabriel if you're a Browns fan? Why? It has nothing to do with team if you're rooting against him. Let me explain why. Dylan Gabriel you should want him to play well. If Dylan Gabriel plays well, then the Browns have their quarterback, right? They have their quarterback in the future, of the future. If Dylan Gabriel plays well, and then they don't have to draft a quarterback next year. The Browns have 2 first-round picks next year. You can get an impact receiver, which they've not had in my lifetime. Honestly, they've not had one in my lifetime. So you then can draft an impact receiver, and then you get, with your second first-round pick, you draft an offensive lineman because, let's be honest, folks, they need to rebuild that offensive line. It's not good right now, and they need to rebuild the offensive line. So to rebuild the offensive line means you need to use a number 1 pick. You have to have at least 1 or 2 offensive linemen that are picked in the first or second round. They have to be studs. You can get some later, but the Browns need some young stud offensive linemen right now. I think DeJuan Jones is going to be really good, but he's out for the year. Joe Bitonio, I would think, is going to retire at the end of the year. Jake Conklin, I don't know what his contract status is, but I can see him being here next year. So they're going to need to rebuild that offensive line. You get a receiver, an impact receiver. You, with your first round pick, you draft a lineman. You're in good shape then. You rebuild this offensive line. You already have a running back. I think Quinshon Judkins is going to be really good, or as I like to call him, Quinn Judkins. I think he's going to be really good. Picked him up on a couple fantasy teams. I felt like that was a good move, and it worked out. But so that's just my thoughts on those people, on those. I don't understand people that root against a guy like Dylan Gabriel. Scatterboo or Waddle, I think I would go. I have Waddle, and he hasn't done much for me. If it's a low point league, I'd have to say go with Scatterboo. I think at this point he's probably the better option in a fantasy football league, especially if it's a lower point league. Waddle just hasn't done much. I mean, you would think he would do more now with Tyreek Hill out, but probably at this point, Cam Scatterboo. But how are your receivers? If you're having trouble at receiver, then Waddle. But I think if I had to make that decision right now, I would go with Cam Scatterboo. And I'm not a big fan of Cam Scatterboo, but I would go with him. So okay, we got some fantasy questions here. Amara, St. Brown, Pittman, and Diggs I got for receiver. Oh, those, you got great receivers. Yeah. So it's got to be Cam Scatterboo. It's got to be Cam Scatterboo. EHJCU. Can't really read that. The writing is the same color as my shirt, but I'm talking to you. And yeah, you got great receivers. Jeez, those receivers should win you weeks every week. I wish I had receivers like that. I have good receivers this year in any league I'm in. Well, the guillotine league I'm in, I've got some good receivers, and that's kept me alive. So, but in my high point league where I've won 4 years in a row, my receivers they're getting old. They're getting old. But thanks for the questions. Yeah, I'm Derrick Henry. I'm wondering if he's nearing the end. If he's just not as good anymore. I'm glad. I like to see these fantasy questions. I love talking fantasy sports. I've thought often about doing a fantasy football show, but we're going to move on here. People can still ask me questions, and I'll answer them if I see them. But these TikTok questions I'm answering a lot here. But I think that we'll move on here, and we'll go to the game that I'm anticipating this week. And I guess it's because I'm a Buccaneers fan. I have to say, it's been very fun living in Cleveland the last couple of years, being a Buccaneers fan. I think it's been probably the most fun I've had watching the NFL in a long time, because with Baker Mayfield doing well with the Buccaneers, I've really enjoyed it a lot. Seeing Browns fans who ripped him apart and tore into him and acted like he was the worst human being on the face of the earth. Watching them, listening to them see him play well just drives them nuts. But there's still a group out there that still blames him, and they don't blame the Browns. So those people make me laugh. But the Buccaneers are home this week against the 49ers. Last year, they played them in San Francisco and just lost. It was a very close game. So they're at home this year. There's no word yet if they'll have Bucky Irvin back. But, I would not do that trade. We have a trade that Graham L. is asking me about. And Jefferson and Kamara for Nico and Hall. No way. No way would I trade Jefferson and Kamara for those two. I think Hall is overrated. For one, and is Nico a better receiver than Jefferson? No way. So I'm going all day with Jefferson and Kamara. I'm not trading them. Kamara's still playing well, even though he's on a terrible team in New Orleans. I'm sticking with those. Yeah, no, don't trade them. That's a big mistake if you ask me. I'm not doing that. But we got a random Laker fan is joining us. Hello. He says, "Let's go Dodgers." Actually, I am rooting for the Dodgers in this series. I'd like to see them beat the Phillies. But getting back to the Buccaneer 49er pick, it worries me. Mayfield's only thrown one interception so far. I fear a bad game. A bad game's inevitable for any quarterback. And they've got some tough games coming up here now. They played better than I thought they would against the Eagles. I'm not going to lie. I did. But I also think that this is going to be a tough game. I think Tampa Bay will win. But I think it's going to be a tough game, though. It's not. To say it would be, I guess it would be more of a shock if I said Tampa Bay would beat them by more than 7. Tampa Bay doesn't beat anybody by more than 7 this year. They are 4-1. They are 4-1. I kicked my tripod. They are 4-1, and I think their plus minus is like 5, somewhere in there. It's not a lot. So it will not be a blowout. It'll be another close game. And I think Tampa Bay will win. How about Emeka Egbuka? That guy is unbelievable, isn't he? I watched him for his whole career at Ohio State, and I knew he'd be good. And when Tampa Bay drafted him, I was very happy about it. But I think he's even been better than I thought. And as a Buccaneers fan, I almost feel like I'm being blasphemous saying he might be their number 1 now. And when Evans comes back, he'll be the number 2. And Godwin is number 3. When Godwin is your number 3 receiver, you're pretty stacked. So the offense is really good for Tampa Bay, but let me tell you something. The defense is disappointing. It's been disappointing for 3 years now, really. And I'm very disappointed how the Buccaneers defense plays. I thought it would be better this year. They drafted some guys. They did have the injury with Kalijah Kancey, and that hurt. And I've been a fan of Kalijah Kancey since the night they drafted him because I like old country music. And the song by Charlie Pride, Kalijah, so Kalijah Kancey makes me really happy. But he's injured again, and you can't help if you're injured. So I think that what we need is, at Tampa fans, is them to play better. They absolutely need to play better defense, and they will win games by more of a margin than 1 or 2 or 3 points, which is tough. It's really tough. It's tough for the health of these teams. Okay, here we have another fantasy question. Should I do this? I get James Cook and Sutton for Nico Scatterbo and Jordan Mason. I don't, what does that say? That said he gets James Cook and Cortland Sutton, and he gets Nico Scatterbo and Jordan Mason. Cook is having a really good year. And I like Cortland Sutton. Boy, I'll tell you, it depends on what else you have. I definitely would consider it, though. I wouldn't say no right away. Gavin, I wouldn't say no right away. I would definitely consider it, but that's tough. And then we got another question. DJ Moore for Kendra Miller. Don't really need DJ Moore? Well, if you don't need him, then trade him. But we're going to have to go now. And so we will talk to you soon. That's it for this week. And I will talk to everybody later. Have a good night, everybody. Hi, everybody. Welcome to this week's welcome to our Hi, everybody. Welcome to this week's. I definitely had comments.